Video podcasting isn't really a new phenomenon, but ever since YouTube announced podcasts, I've been thinking, what the heck? Let's start a video podcast. So in this video, I want to dig into setting up a YouTube video podcast. We'll talk about planning your episodes, recording, bringing on guests, getting your gear set up, having good video quality, audio quality, editing, and then promoting your podcast. If you're new here, my name is Meredith, and I'm here to help you look good, sound good, and feel good on camera so you can build your thriving online business. And I've tried regular old audio podcasting a couple of different times, eventually gave up on it, wrote podcasting off as not my thing, could not accept the fact that there's no community engagement, no comments, no conversation with a podcast on a regular podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, for example. Whereas with a YouTube video, I know I'm going to get comments. I know I'm going to get questions and feedback and engagement. I like the community aspect of a YouTube video versus an audio only podcast. But now that YouTube has added podcasts as a medium on the platform, suddenly podcasting has become very interesting to me. Now, whether you are an audio only podcast consumer or a video podcast consumer, because I know there's two different camps on this, it doesn't really matter, because if you take a platform like what Spotify has, where it's a podcast, if you want to watch the video, great. If not, close the video out and just listen to the audio. But it's all one piece of content. And I hope that YouTube is heading in that direction. I'm excited if that's the case. So if I'm going to make YouTube videos, I might as well put some of those videos into a podcast. And then you have all the benefits of having a podcast where people can listen while they do other things, plus the YouTube algorithm benefits of having YouTube content. It's kind of a no-brainer. So I set up a YouTube podcast as soon as they made that option available, which is really easy on YouTube. You can either create a whole new playlist on your channel and then designate that playlist to be a podcast, or take an existing playlist and designate that as a podcast. So what I did is called mine Thriving Creators, because my membership community is Thriving Creators Society, and I like to bring members in as guests and or have a panel with a couple of different members a couple times a month and kind of like talk about what's working for them on YouTube. So I figured, why not create a Thriving Creators podcast out of that content? And I noticed on other channels like Think Media, for example, took a ton of their older videos, threw those into podcast playlists, and now they have like multiple podcasts all within their channel, all from content that they had already created. The benefit here is that if you go to youtube.com/podcasts, you're going to see a whole bunch of podcast episodes on this podcast explore page. Now, one thing you need to know about YouTube podcasts specifically is that as of the time of this recording, we're halfway through 2023. If you have a YouTube podcast, you don't have an RSS feed for that podcast. What that means is, yes, that podcast episode is hosted on YouTube, but it doesn't automatically go out to, say, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, for example. Now, they have said that they are going to give us RSS feeds sometime this year, which would mean that your podcast can be listened to on any platform that you go and put your feed into, which is how a typical podcast would work. Usually you have a host, you upload your podcast episode, you have a feed set up so that it goes to Apple Podcasts and Spotify so that people can listen no matter what app they're using to listen. I want to stick a little pin into that point for the future, because I think once YouTube gives us a RSS feed for our video podcasts, the whole world of podcasting is going to become the world of video podcasting. Let's talk about planning your podcast content. Like my YouTube videos, I simply use Notion to plan out anything that I need to say or remember to say in my podcast episodes. Most of my podcast episodes for Thriving Creators podcasts are either a live stream that becomes a podcast episode or like an interview style podcast like I did here with Desiree Martinez. So when it comes to recording your video podcast, there are many ways to record podcasts. It's going to depend a lot on how you want your end result piece of content to look. For me, I'm a talking head creator. My monitor is in front of me. My notes are up here on my teleprompter. My camera is up there, and it's really pretty simple for me to record a video or a podcast episode. I'm using my Canon M50 Mark II, which provides better quality than like a typical built-in webcam. Huge night and day difference between the two. Here we are with the camera, and here we are with the built-in webcam on my monitor. And the mic that I use, that I'm using now, the Audio-Technica ATR 2100X. This is a super affordable but great quality microphone. It plugs right into my Mac. Because my camera is connected to my computer using this CamLink device, I can record directly into my computer or directly into a piece of software. Let me introduce you to Riverside, because Riverside gives you the tools to record a professional looking and professional sounding video or audio podcast. And it does it in a really easy, simple way, whether you're just recording yourself or you're bringing on guests. And of course, you can bring those video files into any editor that you would typically use. So Premiere Pro, Final Cut Pro. You can also export your recording directly to Descript, where you can then further edit this so that you can have like a split screen like I did here with my episode with Desiree. When it comes to publishing, if you're using YouTube podcasts, you just upload the YouTube video and select the playlist, the podcast playlist that you want it to go in. Just like with a regular YouTube video, you of course want to have a click-worthy thumbnail. You want to have a clear and click-worthy and intriguing title. You want to have your description in there, any links that you want to link to, any resources that you mention in that podcast episode, you can link to in the description. All of those links are clickable, by the way, so you really want to fill that out so that your viewers and listeners have all the resources that you're mentioning in that podcast episode. And also bring your episode into a tool like Cast Magic, which is going to take the entire transcript and then give you social media content that you can then repurpose. So you have LinkedIn posts, you have timestamps, it'll pull quotes for you. Those would make great tweets or even Instagram posts. Speaking of tweets, it'll give you an entire tweet thread. You can also take your long form video and repurpose it for shorts, TikTok, Reels. You'll let AI do it for you using a tool like Opus. And I'll link to Cast Magic and Opus down below. Are you as excited about video podcasting as I am? It has never been easier. Now I'm editing this video and I want to interject something real quick, because you might be wondering, what the heck is the difference between a video podcast on YouTube and a YouTube channel? And the answer is not much, but YouTube is the most powerful platform for building your audience online. So if you're not sure how to build a library of binge-worthy videos on YouTube so that you can attract your audience and your ideal customers and clients with every single video that you publish, I'm going to queue up my next video for that right here.